Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing an X-Saber deck profile. So I didn't realize it had been so long since I actually updated this deck, and I do apologize for that, because this deck is actually really fun, and I love playing around with it. It is an insane deck that summons out some awesome cards like Double X-Saber, Gotems, and some of my favorite cards like X-Saber or Double X-Saber, Fault Troll. This card is really good, and this deck is overall really cool. I actually remembered that I hadn't profiled this deck for a long time because it was actually one of the cards in the polls. I think it was going up against Toads. I don't know at the current moment who actually won that, but I think it's really cool that they're doing the create a card. So without further ado, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell near so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, so we have some awesome rewards, guys, like you're going to get instructions for every single video, getting a signed card in the mail, or even getting requested deck profile just like this one every single month if you are a patron, along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Double X-Saber Fault Troll. Fault Troll is really good in the deck because it can't be normal summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned except while you control 2 or more face-up X-Saber monsters, and then once per turn, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower X-Saber monster from your graveyard. So this card is really good because basically, you can use its effect multiple times a turn as long as you have multiple Fault Trolls, which is pretty good. It's just once per Fault Troll. So like if I remove Fault Troll from the field and put it back, it gains its effect again. And it's a 2400 beat stick, and it's a level 6, which can help us go into some really cool plays, because I actually have a level 2 tuner in the deck that you guys might be a little bit surprised about. But this card's really good to just revive your X-Sabers from the graveyard to help you get into your Gotems, because you can use this and your copy of Herbellum to be able to go immediately into a Gotems to get your particular effect off, to be able to like rip a card out of your opponent's hand. You play 3 copies of Bogard Knight. Bogard Knight's really good because when this card is normal summon, you can special summon a level 4 or lower X-Saber monster from your hand, and it cannot be used for a synchro material except for the synchro summon of an X-Saber monster, which is totally fine for this deck. You can go into plenty of other plays in this deck with other monsters. We then play 3 copies of Herbellum. Herbellum is pretty good too because if this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent by a direct attack, you can discard 1 random card from your opponent's hand, so you can just instantly get a little bit more advantage out of your opponent by sending this card to the graveyard, or by attacking their opponent directly, which is pretty good to be able to get a card that's sent to the graveyard by your opponent. We then play 3 copies of Dark Soul. No, not Dark Souls. We're not playing Dark Souls right now. No. What this card does is during your end phase, if this card is sent to the graveyard, from your side of the field to the graveyard, this turn you can add an X-Saber monster from your deck to your hand, which is pretty good to be able to just search the deck for a copy of Fault Troll, Bogard Knight, Herbellum. Usually you're going to search out your copy of Bogard Knight or your copy of Herbellum, which is going to be the 2 that I usually search out of the deck. I usually end up drawing into my Fault Troll, which is the best card in the entire deck, though. We play 3 copies of Double X-Saber Rag. This card's pretty good too. What this card does is when this card is normal summon, you can add an X-Saber from your graveyard to your hand, which is really good to be able to add stuff from graveyard to hand. Now, my particular tech card that I play in the deck is a single copy of Bambi. I always call it Bambi, but this card's really good in the deck too because you can discard a card and then target a level 2 or lower beast in the graveyard and special summon it back to your side of the field. And it can be used as a synchro material to help you go into a lot of plays, like going to Nat Beast with your copy of Dark Souls, because you can normal summon out the copy of Dark Souls, and if it stays on the field, you can normal summon out your copy of the Beast of the Forest, summon out Bambi, and then synchro these 2 away for Nat Beast, which is really easy to do. And there's plenty of plays that you can actually go off with that, especially with your copy of Rescue Cat, which we play as a 3 of in the deck. Rescue Cat's really insane in this deck because you can just normal summon out Rescue Cat, special summon out this and your copy of Dark Souls, synchro them together, and since this was sent to the graveyard, you can then search your copy of Fault Troll, Bogard Knight, or Herbellum, and you end up with a copy of Nat Beast on your side of the field, which is, again, really good. This card is really insane too because the copy of Rescue Cat can get you out your copy of Herbellum, it can get your copy of Dark Souls, it can get your copy of Rag, it can get your copy of Mystical Beast. I mean, you have so many different ways to get those monsters out on your side of the field. It just has to be 2 level 3 or lower Earth monsters, or Earth Beast monsters. We then play 3 copies of Summoner Monk. Summoner Monk's really good in the deck too. It's one of the cards that I've considered in the past cutting in this deck because I don't feel like I use it quite as much as I used to. I've thought about cutting it for like 3 impermanents, so that is an option on the table for you guys. If you want to cut the copy of Summoner Monk for impermanents and go a little bit more control based, where you're going to rip like 2 or 3 cards out of your opponent's hand with Gotems, and then go from there with your copy of impermanents to be able to stop your opponents whatever they have left, that's an option. But I've really thought about cutting this card, but I haven't yet. But basically what this card does to help out the deck is it helps you get your Bogard Knight onto your side of the field, which is super helpful just to be able to get those monsters onto your side of the field. It's really good for using as synchro material as well to go into like a Black Rose Dragon with your copy of Airbellum, and it helps out going for different plays with your copy of your Bogard Knight as well. So that's it for the monsters besides the 3 Ash, which we also play 3 Ash. The 3 Ash is super nice to be able to play in here because it just stops your opponent from doing all sorts of stuff in the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Call by the Grave, because we always play 3 copies of Call by the Grave. This card's insanely good. I think this card's one of the best cards ever created. It just stops hand traps, which is really good to let you go through your plays, especially in a deck like this that's anti-meta, that you're trying to rip cards out of your opponent's hand. It really, if you're going first in this deck, which usually you're going to want to, and you draw on a Call by the Grave, you essentially have almost guaranteed yourself that you're only going to have to rip 2 out of your opponent's hand, or not 2, but 4 out of your opponent's hand because of the Gothams, because you're going to go 1 for 1 with the Call by the Grave, which is still really, really good. 1 copy of Monster Reborn, 2 copies of Monster Reborn because of the copy of War Legacy Succession. This card's really good. Both of these are really good as extenders in the deck, which is still really good in the deck to be able to just go for your copies of your monsters out of the graveyard and then synchro summon into more stuff. We play 3 copies of Gotham's Second Call. Gotham's Second Call is really good because if you control an X-Saber monster that's a synchro, you can target 2 X-Sabers in your graveyard and special summon both of those targets, ignoring their summoning conditions, but their attack becomes 0, and destroy them during the end phase. And then you can only activate the effect of this card once per turn, but it's really, really good because if you activate this and you have your Gothams on your side of the field, it essentially says, hey, rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, which is really good just to be able to just grab 2 out of your opponent's hand off the copy of your Gotham's Second Call. We then play 3 copies of Transmodify. Transmodify is kind of one of those little sneaky cards that I play in this deck. I really like this in the deck because you can go from a copy of Dark Souls into a copy of Rescue Cat and then tribute the Rescue Cat to get out your copy of your Mystical Beast of the Forest, and then your copy of Dark Souls off the Rescue Cat, and then you get 2 searches during the end phase, which is really, really good because you've used 2 different copies of Dark Souls, and you got a copy of Nat Beast on your side of the field off of a Transmodify and a copy of, like, a single copy of your copy of the copy of Dark Souls. Because you got Dark Souls, you go into Rescue Cat, and then you go off from there. I mean, it's super easy to do, and it's a really, really cool combo that you essentially get 2 searches and you get a Nat Beast on your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of the Fire Formation Tinky, which is going to search our Beast Warrior monsters from our deck to our hand, which is going to be super helpful to get our copy of our Bogard Knight from deck to hand, which is also going to boost it up by another 100 attack points, which is super nice. And this card's really good to be able to search in the deck, to be able to normal summon it out, and then get out your copy of your Dark Souls or your Airbellum, and then your copy of Fall Troll will follow them out, and then you can use the Fall Troll to revive something from the graveyard if you use them for link materials. I mean, it's just really, really good to be able to play the Tinky to get you an additional search. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So we are only playing 2 traps in the deck, and there's 2 copies of Gotham's Emergency Call. This is the first Gotham's Emergency Call, not Gotham's Second Call. You only activate this card if there's a face-up X-Saber monster on the field. You select 2 X-Sabers in the graveyard and then special summon them to your side of the field, which is, again, pretty good. It's basically Gotham's Emergency Call, the second call, but in a trap form, which is still pretty good. But like I said, this card is really good just to resolve if you're going second, because you can set this card against your opponent going first, and then resolve it in the next turn to kind of recover you, which is pretty good to be able to get those additional monsters on your side of the field. And it always makes your Fall Troll live. This is not what you're going to usually use with your double X-Saber Gothams, but this card's really good as a recovery card. This one's the emergency call. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of double X-Saber Gothams. Gothams is really good in the deck, and the card that you're going to be focusing around in here, because you get to tribute an X-Saber monster and then you discard a random card from your opponent's hand. You can really get some advantage off this card in the deck, because if you're discarding multiple cards out of your opponent's hand, it's just really good. And you can tribute himself as well to discard a card. So if you can get, like, if your opponent hand traps you, drop Call by the Grave on the first turn, you're going 4, and then you resolve your copy of Gotham's Second Call, get 2 more back on your side of the field, and then tribute this and the 2 monsters that you essentially summoned this card with, and then you essentially get, like, 3 cards out of your opponent's hand, plus the call by the grave, which is 4, so you can essentially hand rip your entire opponent with that play. I mean, it's really easy to do. There's also a loop in this deck where you can just loop out cards out of your opponent's hand. I mean, it's ridiculous. Then we played 1 copy of the X-Saber Sozin. This card's pretty good too because it's an alright card. I don't go into it all that much, but it sometimes is something that comes up because during your main phase, you can tribute an X-Saber to choose one of the effects. At the start of the damage step, if this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can destroy that opponent's monster, and this card cannot be destroyed by trap effects, which is still pretty good. This card is pretty decent. I just play it as a one-of because I just feel like you need it as a one-of. 1 copy of what I think is one of the best X-Saber monsters in the entire extra deck, which this card is really good because when it's Synchro Summon, you can select up to 3 spells and traps on the field and destroy it. This card just basically Harpy's Feather Dusters the field. This card's really good. 1 copy of Trish because you can rip even more cards out of your opponent's hand and banish cards from their field and graveyard. Borload Savage just to kind of clean up boards because you can just negate stuff with it. Black Rose just in case you get pushed to go second. You can use this card with your Bogard Knight and your Airbellum to go into your copy of your Black Rose, or other ways that you can go into Black Rose. I mean, there's a lot of different ways in this deck that you can go into Black Rose, so it's just a really good overall card. I don't think you can use your copy of your Bogard Knight. I think it has a restriction on it. Let me double check that. No, you can't use the copy of Airbellum or Bogard Knight, but you can use Airbellum with other stuff like Rescue Cat or your copy of your Summoner Monk. 1 copy of Nat Beast. I already kind of told you guys how you go into that. You pretty much go into this with Dark Soul, which is an Earth monster, and your copy of your Mystical Beast of the Forest. So you use this and use your copy of Dark Souls, which your Dark Souls, since it left the field, you can get a search during the end phase, which is really, really good to be able to just get that additional search. We then play a single copy of Access Code just to be able to pop multiple cards on the field. Yugioh, so you can dig deeper into the deck to get your copy of your Gotham Second Call. Nightmare Unicorn for the copy of Access Code and its spin stuff. Phoenix to pop spells and traps. Needle Fiber, I play a single Needle Fiber, but I don't use it all that much, but it's here just in case I need it to grab something out of the deck. Mrs. Radiant is really good because it boosts all of your monsters that are, Earth by 500. And a single copy of Linkuriboh because it rounds out the cards, and you can use it with Rag to be able to go into your Linkuriboh to stop your opponent from attacking if they do happen to get an attack off. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really, really, really fun deck. It's super, super crazy how you can just loop cards out of your opponent's hand, which is really, really insane to me. And it's just an overall fun deck. I mean, it's just really fun, and it's a classic throwback. I know this is probably one of the fan favorite decks of all time. Like, it's just a really cool deck overall. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and definitely hit that bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and check out the Patreon down in the description because it really helps out the channel. And we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.